I'm Griff, and I'm in Humboldt Redwood State Parks, which is one of the most beautiful places in the world. And this is a really special week because this is California Biodiversity Day/week. Biodiversity Day is September 7th, but we're celebrating it from the 5th to the 13th because we love biodiversity, and it's so much about what we're doing. So this holiday is only a couple years old. It was signed by Governor Brown just 2 years ago, and it came with some executive orders, and it came with the California Biodiversity Initiative roadmap. And you could learn more about that because we're about to talk about it a little bit at californiabiodiversityinitiative.org. And it's a wonderful, wonderful, encouraging document. One of the things in that roadmap is talking about educating people about biological diversity, biodiversity, the variety of life in California, because California is by far the most biodiverse state in the entire nation. And we have some species that have qualified us as one of the 33 biological hotspots in the world. And so education is a very important part of the roadmap. And Marnin Robbins, who's here with me, is in charge of education in North Coast Redwoods District of California State Parks. How you doing, Marnin?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Griff.
So awesome. So when you read this roadmap and you saw that education was a huge component about biodiversity, what are some of the ways that you and your team are meeting that challenge?
So we've got this great team of interpreters in our district, and they're spread out in our parks across 3 different counties, and we have incredible biodiversity within our parks. In fact, the parks in our district comprise a World Heritage Site, one of only a handful in the United States. And part of the reason they were given that, that distinction is because of the very unique biodiversity that we have here. So that's just inherently a part of our story in our parks in North Coast Redwoods District. We are called the North Coast Redwoods District for a reason. We have a lot of redwoods, a lot of ancient redwoods. In fact, 60% of the remaining stands of old growth redwoods in the world are located in the parks in our district. But there's a bigger reason than just telling people about the biodiversity in our parks, which is interesting in and of itself. Our job as educators is to inspire people to make a difference in their own realm of influence, in their own house, in their own communities, in their own cities and states. Wherever you are, we can be biodiversity heroes. And it's our job as interpreters to help inspire them and give people the tools to go out there and make a difference for wildlife. So that's what we're doing this whole week. You know, we talk about biodiversity throughout the year. It's one of the most important things that we can do as educators. But this week is even more important than normal to get that message out, to tie in with that statewide message around California Biodiversity Day that we're turning into an 8-day celebration of biodiversity.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people hear about, you know, all the different kinds of species that are imperiled. And sometimes people get depressed from it. I know I've gotten ecological depression in the past because I felt like there wasn't anything that I could do. And then I learned that there are some things I can do, and it makes me feel better when I do them. So what are some things that you recommend people do to help protect or restore or educate others about biodiversity?
There are a lot of different things. And I would say that there are 2 kind of main baskets that you could put them in. There are individual actions, things that we can do in our own lives, in our own backyard, in the choices we make every day. And then there are collective actions. And really, in order to solve the biodiversity crisis, just in California alone, 30% of all of our unique species in California are either threatened or endangered. Right? That's a huge percentage of the species that are here. In order to protect those species, we will have to work together to come up with policies and decisions to safeguard the remaining habitat that we have, and to find new places to protect, to safeguard those places for future generations. But what are some things that we can do in our own yard, in our own home? Well, if any of you are paying attention to the news right now, you might notice that there are unprecedented numbers of fires burning throughout the state, including within our very own state parks. One of the pillars of our state park system, in fact, the very first state park in the California state park system, Big Basin Redwoods State Park, recently had a catastrophic fire that burned down many historic buildings there and also burned many of the ancient redwoods that live there. The fires are linked to climate change and to the human use of fossil fuels and our overconsumption of fossil fuels. So I would say number one on the list of things that each of us can do is to reduce our use of fossil fuels, to find ways to drive less, and if we are driving, find alternate fuels to fuel our vehicles. There's idea number one.
That's an important one.
Idea number two, invasive species. We have an epidemic of non-native plants and animals that have entered into our ecosystems and are displacing natives throughout our parks and throughout California. And so joining in with others to help eradicate those. In our district, we invite members of the public to come help us with that. We're doing regular ivy pulls of Boston ivy, amongst others, in some of our parks. Some of the European beach grasses that have taken over. We really need members of the public to get out there and help us pull some of those non-natives out so that native plants have a place to survive. And if you're not in our district, if you're not on the north coast of California, I guarantee you that there are non-native plants close by to where you live that need your attention as well.
Yes.
And then number three is plant natives. Plant natives. You know, for a long time, the ideal lawn in the United States was a perfectly trimmed green field.
Sterile.
Right? And what we've learned, especially in California, because we have this Mediterranean climate where it doesn't rain for half the year, is that it's incredibly water intensive and pesticide intensive and just management intensive to be able to keep something like that alive. Mm. And what more and more people are realizing is that each of us can make a difference for wildlife by planting native plants in their own yard. Those native plants are incredibly important for pollinators, but they also are host plants for especially insects that lay their eggs, and those pupae, when they hatch, feed on those plants and are the food providers for the rest of the ecosystem. We're learning every day about how important native plants are to the food source for the entire pyramid of the food system that's based on those plants. So you can do it right where you are.
Yeah. You know, we talk about like creating habitat in parks, doing habitat restoration, and habitat is basically four things if you broke it down, and it's food, cover, like places to hide, places to raise young, and water. And just by planting native plants in your yard, you're providing 3 of the 4 habitat requirements. And then if you don't use herbicides or pesticides or, you know, anything like that, then you have this great place where, you know, wildlife, especially like pollinators and insects and stuff that the birds eat, can really move into your house. And so I know that you have a native plant garden, and I was wondering if you could just show us, you know, to wrap this up, I was hoping that you could show us some of the plants you have growing there.
Absolutely, Griff. I'm joining you today from my own home so that I could show you my native plant garden.
Awesome.
Up until 2016, this was just a green lawn like everybody else's. And during the height of the historic drought that hit California during those years, we ripped up our lawn and we planted natives. And I have just seen this explosion of beautiful, beneficial wildlife since that time. that are really enjoying all of the native plants that we put in. So I'm going to give you just a quick tour of a few of those plants.
Awesome.
So right here, this is called a red monkey flower. It's a
Beautiful.
plant that normally grows kind of along water seeps, kind of in wetland areas or nearby to wetlands. And it's just got these gorgeous orange flowers that begin blooming in May. And here it is, September. They will probably continue blooming all the way through October.
Wow. Beautiful. I saw a pollinator on one of those flowers too.
Here we go. Here's another one. This is actually another kind of monkey flower. This is an orange monkey flower. It's a little bit more of a bush variety. You will see all kinds of native insects as well as honeybees on this throughout the day. And again, blooms like forever and requires very little water throughout the year for it to survive. A couple others. Here we've got this is a beautiful pink flower of which I'm forgetting the name right now. So we'll come back. Is it penstemon? It is. Yep. Thank you. Purple penstemon. We've also got a red penstemon right here. Both natives. I don't know if you can tell. There's honeybees all over this thing right now. Wow. That is beautiful. That is a lot of flowers. The hummingbirds probably love that too. Oh, there's just hummingbirds out here all the time. So, again, there's no reason to put up a hummingbird feeder. If you plant native plants, those hummingbirds are going to come. And and it just provides all those cascade of other benefits for different things. Last thing I'll point out to you, this is a forest strawberry. And if you notice, it's got these delicious little teeny strawberries all over it. Great for animals and great for humans too. And most people don't know strawberries are native to California, so that's our awesome contribution to the world's agricultural supply. The strawberries, wonderful. Absolutely. Awesome, Martin. Thank you so much for sharing your native plant garden with us and for the words and for your work to educate people about biodiversity. It's so important now more than ever. And so I really appreciate you leading the charge on that. And I know that in your district, because I work for Marnin, we're doing a lot of really awesome things, and we're staying very, very, very busy because we all believe that time is of the essence, and it's time to save California's biodiversity, and we got to get into it. We can do it in fun ways. In fact, this week we have a Bioblitz Contest using the iNaturalist app that you can download to your phone. And you can go out to Prairie Creek State Park. Prairie Creek State Park challenged Humboldt Redwood State Park. And so you can go out there with your phone, you can take pictures, and it will automatically be uploaded to the contest. You don't even have to worry about uploading it to a certain place. You just upload it like normal. And that's going on between the 5th and the 12th, and we'll announce the winner on the 13th. And Martin, I just want to ask you before you go, who do you think is going to win this contest between Prairie Creek and Humboldt Redwood State Park? Griff, I have. And both the team captains work for Martin, the freshman. For starters, if I told you what my favorite park was, then the other park would probably excommunicate me forever. So I can't do that. But what I will say is I really have no idea which one's going to win, because even though they both do have old growth redwoods, some of the most magnificent stands of old growth redwoods in the world, they also have a lot more going on, both of those parks. Incredible biomes, different places throughout those parks with things going on. So I'm going to be very interested to see how this BioBlitz works out and see which one comes out on top in terms of just the diversity that's there. Oh, we see a hummingbird behind you. Awesome. Thanks for that debut, Mr. Hummingbird. Thank you very much, Martin. Enjoy your weekend, and we look forward to seeing you during Biodiversity Week, and we look forward to seeing the rest of you. And stay tuned every day at 3 o'clock here on this Facebook page. We're going to have contest updates and creature features and interviews, so stay tuned. Thanks, everybody.